Good morning, Unity. Today's theme is about will and intention, and this is a song from Frank Sinatra about that very subject. Next time you're found with your chin on the ground, there's a lot to be learned, so look around. Just what makes that little old ant think he'll move a rubber tree plant? Anyone knows an ant can't move a rubber tree plant, but he's got high hopes. He's got high hopes. He's got high apple pie in the sky. So anytime you're getting low, instead of letting go, just remember that ant. There goes another rubber tree. Oops, there goes another rubber tree. Oops, there goes another rubber tree plant. Troubles call and your back's to the wall. There's a lot to be learned. That wall could fall. Once there was a silly old ram, thought he'd punch a hole in a dam. No one could make that ram scram. He kept butting that dam 'cause he had high hopes. He had high hopes. He had high apple pie in the sky. So anytime you're feeling bad, instead of feeling sad, just remember that ram. Oops, there goes a billion kilowatt. There goes a billion kilowatt. Oops, there goes a billion kilowatt dam. Problems just a toy balloon, they'll be bursting soon. You're bound to go pop. Oops, there goes another problem, kerplop. There goes another problem, oops, there goes another problem, kerplop, kerplop.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Reverend Cheryl Myers, and I'm the minister here at Unity of Gaithersburg, and it is my joy to welcome all of you that are tuning in via our YouTube channel. We have all of your beautiful pictures to look at, so we feel your presence, whether you're on a chair or not. We feel that heart-to-heart connection, so we welcome you. And so let's just take a deep breath together and officially begin our time together with prayer. And so as we take that deep breath and we settle into wherever we're seated this morning, we are informing our mind and our body that it's time to be still, to be open, available, to be blessed by this heart-to-heart connection and spiritual community this morning. And how grateful we are to have this beautiful sanctuary. And for those of you that have been here, you know the beautiful energy of love that's here. So breathe into that love with us who are here this morning, the AV team, the music, and the staff. And as we breathe in, we just keep our hearts open for this time together and beyond, for the rest of our day and beyond during this week. And just set that intention to be blessed, to leave this time together this morning in a greater awareness and understanding and claiming of all that we are. So one more deep breath. Thank you for being here. And so it is. Amen. And so now Edie Crane will come up and share some transformational opportunities with us. Come on up, Edie.
Good morning. This week's transformational opportunities are also detailed in our community newsletter. Receive next week's edition by sharing your email with us. During this time of suspended in-person activities here at Unity of Gaithersburg, remember to check out our Facebook page, newsletter, and website to keep current on updates. Our Wednesday afternoon from 5 to 6 p.m. on Zoom, we're offering a co-hosted Hump Day Happy Hour. Come, let's be happy together. This is a time of community connection and lighthearted fun. To sign up, go to the event on our Facebook page and click Going. You can also email admin@unityofgaithersburg.org to register. And on Wednesday mornings, Rev Cheryl is facilitating a Zoom midweek morning meditation at 9 a.m. To sign up, email our admin office or reply Going on Facebook on the event post to get the Zoom link. And our Zoom community chats are continuing on Sunday afternoons from 4 to 5:30 p.m. This is for those who would like to come together, check in, and have spiritual conversation. Today's topic is to further discuss the message today on our foundational power. Click on the meeting link found in the newsletter or in the event posted on our Facebook page. See you soon. The Big Spring, now Fall, Prosperity Fling online auction is happening. We will be accepting donations from August 2nd through August 31st. Bidding will be September 6th through the 20th. Be thinking about any virtual services, experiences, classes, subscriptions, etc. that you would like to donate. Let your creativity run wild. One very creative donation we have received is a Zoom murder mystery party. How fun is that? Other practical ideas include gift cards to favorite stores, new household items, and themed gift baskets. Thank you in advance for participating and supporting our spiritual community in this very fun and prosperous way. Unity World Day of Prayer is right around the corner. This annual 24-hour prayer vigil begins on Wednesday, September 9th and ends on Thursday, September 10th. Unity Village will be live streaming their opening service at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Unity of Gaithersburg will have a pre-opening service at 7:30 on the 9th. And a meditative closing service on the 10th at 7 p.m. If you would like your dear ones held in this sacred energy of prayer, fill out a prayer request form by clicking on the link in the newsletter or website. There are also links to click to sign up to participate in the 24-hour prayer vigil, as well as attend the services on the 9th and the 10th. World Day of Prayer is a wonderful opportunity to give your time and attention to hold others in prayer. There will be thousands of people participating in this sacred vigil. Now more than ever, we get to join our light with others to lift up our planet and our fellow humans. Are you ready to be a voting member here at Unity of Gaithersburg? As a voting member, you'll be an active participant in the care and unfolding of this wonderful community and will allow it to support you on your spiritual journey. If you are ready to commit to this next step, join us on Saturday, September 12th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. for our next new member class. Please notify admin@unityofgaithersburg.org if you plan to attend, and then you will receive the Zoom link. We look forward to officially welcoming you into this loving community. And now, please center yourselves as we reflect together on today's daily word. Our focus, will. Our affirmation, I am divinely blessed by my spiritual attribute of will. I make choices every day, what to eat, how to spend my day, and what to think. Yet sometimes I neglect to acknowledge the incredible potential that is mine through my faculty of will. I may have become complacent, making the same choices day after day. While these choices are comfortable and will likely bring about predictable results, now is the time to break out of my routine or comfort zone. My options may seem limited by the circumstances around me. However, it is then that I remind myself I am in command of my attitude. I remember the unlimited possibilities always available to me. I am divinely blessed by my spiritual attribute of will. I utilize that gift, choosing to take charge of my life to express the creativity, vitality, and wholeness I truly am. And from Job 22:28, you will decide on a matter, and it will be established for you, and light will shine on your ways. And now, let us prepare for meditation by singing All is Well.
As I close my eyes and the world disappears, I can feel my breath rise and fall. There's a light inside that dispels all my fears, and I hear a gentle voice calling, all is well, 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 all is well.
So once again, let us take a deep breath together and follow that deep breath with 2 more deep, whole, sustaining breaths. And now just begin to follow the movement of the breath as it moves in and moves out. Notice the flow as it enters your body, filling your lungs and abdomen, and then follow as it exits. And then repeat that focus with the next breath. And if busy thoughts or body sensations seek to distract your focus, just gently, lovingly, without judgment, return your focus to the movement of the breath. Moving in, moving out. And just notice as you focus on the breath, how it moves you into this present moment. How eventually the noises of busy thoughts cease a bit. The sensations in our physical body calm down. And we become available and open, present. This open, present, and available space that simply breathing creates in a focused way is that opening for our divine wisdom to inform our conscious mind. In this peaceful, centered space, there's room for our wisdom, for our love and our understanding to inform our choices. Despite what is happening around us, the swirl of activity, the drama, the negative news, that's all out there. For when we focus on the breath and we allow ourselves to be present in this moment, open and available, all of that external noise quiets. And we can access our peace and our knowing. And all it takes to access this amazing place within our willingness to go there. So in the midst of our busy lives, or in the midst of however we're navigating this pandemic time, through our power of willingness, our power of will, we take time to pause, to breathe, to be present, open and available to the infinite wisdom, strength, power, life, wholeness that lives within us always. So as we move now into a time of silence, I invite you to continue to simply breathe into this present moment. Follow the movement of the breath, being gentle with any distractions of thought or body sensation. Just gently and lovingly bring your attention back to focusing on the breath, allowing your openness and availability to surface in the stillness of your being, in the silence. So just take a deep breath. And just know that this still, open, available place is always ready and waiting within you. It's simply a breath away, a present moment awareness away. All the wisdom, all the love, all the faith, all the strength is right here within you. And all it takes is a willingness to go there, a willingness to get still and know. So one more deep breath together. How grateful we are for the breath, for all that we are. And so it is. Amen.
Feeling lighthearted and carefree, knowing all is well. I move through my day, feeling lighthearted and carefree, knowing all is well. All is well. I move through my day, feeling lighthearted and carefree, knowing all is well. I move through my day, feeling lighthearted and carefree, knowing all is well. All is well. Imagine a month of Sundays, each one a cloudy day. Imagine the moment the sun comes shining through. Imagine that ray of sunshine as you remember your darkest hour, with dawn still far away. Remember the way you longed for morning's light. Think of yourself as a candle in the night. Make believe this is the first day, everything all brand new. Make believe the sun is your lucky star. Then understand the kind of gift you are. The gift you are, like the first breath of spring. The gift you are, all the joy that love can bring. The gift you are, all of your dreams come true. The gift you are, the gift of you. You are the You are the promise of all the ages. You are the prodigal son. You are the vision of prophets and sages. You are the only one. dream will come true. Carry your dream in a sparkling crystal jar. Then you will know the kind of gift you are. The gift you are, like the very first breath of spring. The gift you are, all the joy that love can bring. The gift you are, all of our dreams come true. The gift you are, the gift of you.
Thank you. Well, there was a man that went to an interreligion integration seminar. How was that for a long name? And the bishop came and laid his hands on the man and said, "By the will of Jesus Christ, you will walk today." And the man smiled and told him he was not paralyzed. And the rabbi came, laid his hands on the man's hand and said, "By the will of God Almighty, you will walk today." And he was not amused when the man told him there was nothing wrong with him. And the mullah came, took his hands and said, "Inshallah, you will walk today." And the man politely told him, "There's nothing wrong with me." And the Hindu sadhu came and said, "Son, you will walk on your legs today." And the man told the holy Hindu, "Nothing's wrong with my legs." And the Buddhist monk came, held the man's hands and said, "By the will of the great Buddha, you will walk today." And the man had to tell him there was nothing wrong with him. And after the seminar, the man stepped outside and found his car had been stolen. He believes in all religions now. So today I'm going to talk about something that was inspired by our Sunday afternoon Zoom chats. They have just been so rich, and we've been talking for the last several weeks about, creating our truest, most beautiful vision and what that takes. It takes us, bringing that to our mind's eye and grounding it in faith, and then discerning our next steps, bringing forward our gifts and talents, and bringing into the light what we know is true. And, last week we talked about the Bible character Nicodemus and his unwillingness to bring the truth that he knew into the light. And we recall he was a Pharisee. He was considered one of the most astute at knowing Jewish law. He was wealthy and nationally known as a religious leader who was also part of the Sanhedrin, which was the council that regulated the internal affairs of the Jews. And Nicodemus would come to Jesus at night, remember, and ask him spiritual questions, and he had a very limited understanding of spiritual law, although he knew the letter of the law backward and forward. So he was pretty much stuck in his intellect. And even when Jesus was being crucified and Jesus appeared before the Sanhedrin, Nicodemus was just able to just suggest a fair trial. So he never really brought into the light of day what he really knew. And so in our Zoom call last week, we talked about this, and it came up. We talked a lot about Nicodemus and what would have been at stake for him if he had brought what he knew into the light. And one person said, well, he would have lost his life. And so metaphysically, we look at these stories beyond the literal. Yes, he absolutely would have lost the life that he knew. He would have lost the life. His cover would have been blown. However, he would have been in integrity with himself. And this stirred me to consider what has us live in integrity with the truth that we know about ourselves, the truth that we talk about in unity constantly, that's the truth about not only ourselves, but the world, in spite of what's going on in the outer world. What is ours to do? And so I started to ask myself, what is the foundational power that has us make that choice? To really make choices in our life in alignment with our spiritual integrity. And it's will. It's our spiritual attribute of will. And so will is one of the 12 powers. That's a fundamental teaching in unity taught by Charles Fillmore. And the 12 powers, if you don't know, they're known as powers, also known as attributes, qualities, faculties that make up our divine nature. They're our fundamental ones. There are many, many more. And of all of our 12 powers, will is the one that is foundational to everything we do, every choice we make. Will works in tandem with every other power. So one of our powers is strength. And so if we want to express strength, we have to be willing, we have to call forth our power of will in order to allow that inherent strength that we are to express. And so you can have that conversation about our power of love and life. So I was intrigued what the revealing word had to say. And the revealing word is just a text of metaphysical terms that's attributed to Charles Fillmore. And so I wanted to share with you what the revealing word had to say about will. The will is the executive faculty of the mind, the determining factor. What we will or decree comes to pass in our experience. The will is the center in our mind and body around which revolve all the activities that constitute consciousness. It is the avenue through which our I am nature expresses its potentiality, which we know is unlimited, right? When we will to do divine will, we exercise our individual will in wisdom, love, and understanding. We build spiritual character. Using our spiritual attribute of will is very important in making demonstrations. We must be very persistent, since persistence is essential to demonstration. The will must resolutely lay hold and keep hold of the word of truth until the word becomes flesh. So let me explain that a little more. So our spiritual attribute of will, it determines everything we do. It's how our I am nature has room to express its potential. So whatever we will ourselves to do or not do is the level at which our I am nature, our Christ self, whatever you want to call it, is allowed to express. And so when we will to do divine will, and so I want to just do a little aside. You know, for those of us that grew up in a more traditional background, we heard God's will for me is. And so our divine will is what we discern is our own individual truth. And you all have your own individual truth. No one has your truth but you. And so when we will to do divine will, it's what we will declare, what we discover is ours to do. It's what we discern. We exercise wisdom, love, and understanding. And when we live from that place of divine will, saying yes to life, saying yes to what is ours to do, and we willingly do that and we follow that, it builds spiritual character. We grow in depth in our spiritual wisdom and understanding, and we live in integrity with our spiritual wisdom. And we can move forward in wisdom and love instead of fear. Understanding exactly why we're doing what we're doing, saying yes to whatever risk it might take, getting outside of our limiting thoughts and resistances, even without seeing the end result, which we we don't know the end result, right? When we step out and say yes. We are willing. We're living into that truest, most beautiful vision that we have for our life and world by living in integrity with our spiritual wisdom. Nothing builds spiritual character and depth more than living in integrity with what you know is true. Nothing. So that's why Charles Fillmore talked about persistence. We must be persistent, since persistence is essential to unfolding anything of our heart's desires, right? If you've unfolded anything, you know that it's taken you standing in your knowing, in your willingness to do whatever it took. We take dominion over limiting thoughts and resistances, our fears, our personal will. See, our personal will is based on the external world. When we look outside and we go, this is what I'm willing to do based on what I'm seeing. Instead of divine will, this is what is mine to do based on what I discern. And I move forward honoring that in my integrity. And so metaphysically, the disciple Matthew represents the power of will, and here's his story. So Matthew was also known as Levi, and he was a publican, also known as a tax collector. And back in the time of Jesus, tax collectors were hated and considered traitors because they collaborated with the Roman government. And they collected the taxes the Romans levied on the Jewish people, and they also took a cut for themselves in order for them to be paid. And they were distrusted because many publicans amassed great wealth because they were greedy and they overtaxed the people. So the story goes that one day Jesus was just teaching the people, and Matthew had his little kiosk, his little tax collecting kiosk set up. And Jesus just walked by and said, "Hey, come follow me." And Matthew just got up and immediately went with him. Boom. Discerned, done. And Matthew didn't say, "Well, why in the world would you ask me? I'm a publican." No doubts. There were no doubts. No circumstances mentioned. Matthew was probably very rich. He left all of that behind and just said yes to what was his to do. The next story, in contrast, was a young rich man who approached Jesus and asked, "What good thing shall I do to live eternally?" And Jesus replied, "Abide by the law and prophets." And the young man said, "Check, done." And then Jesus said, "Well, okay, now go sell your possessions and give to the poor, and then you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me." And the young man said, "Oh." And he looked kind of sad and he scratched his head. And Jesus said, "How can you say you follow the law and the prophets where it says love your neighbor as yourself, and you can look around you and see all these people in need, and yet you do nothing?" And he said, "How hard it is for the rich to enter the kingdom of heaven. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of heaven." So here we have two stories about how we use our power of will. See, Matthew was open and willing and ended up, as we know, according to the stories, persisting, staying with Jesus until the end. And as we know, the disciples were threatened, and so he knew before he said yes that there were risks involved. But he said yes anyway. He lived in integrity with what he knew. Whereas the younger, and metaphysically that just means he was just young in consciousness, couldn't will himself to say yes. He couldn't listen to his inner knowing, which was represented by Jesus. So I think these stories represent our own journey. And so I just invite us to reflect on what choices are we making to live in integrity with our spiritual wisdom? How willing are we to step into our spiritual truth? and to live from that truth. Bring it into the light of day, unlike Nicodemus was able to do. And so I wanted to translate that into this time we're living. We're living in a time that's going to be in the history books. We're living through a pandemic that is a very challenging time to be alive in our country and in the world. And I just wanted to talk about our power of will right now because I feel like it's so important for us to embrace our power of will right now because we're really being challenged. So how willing, how open and available are we to navigate this time in alignment with what we know is true? And the thing is, if you've been coming to Unity, whether I've been standing up here or not, I know a lot of you tuning in have been in Unity for years. Or some people have just started tuning in since the pandemic, and wherever you are is perfect. And this is not about judgment, because really, I'm talking to myself here. How willing are we in the midst of this time to live in integrity with our spiritual wisdom? What we know is true. In the midst of extreme appearances of separation and fear and illness, how are we choosing? Are we choosing from our personal will based on all of these external circumstances and appearances? Or are we choosing from our divine will? Taking the time, being willing to tune in prayer and meditation and discern what is ours to do. To make choices from our truest, most beautiful vision that we've been holding, right? We've been holding that for weeks now. Grounding it in faith, discerning, going to the edge of the light we can see. So, are we activating our power of will to stay persistent, holding that vision and that knowing of what is true? Who we are as spiritual beings, we are wholeness, we are light, we are love, we are strength, we are wisdom. And see, I really believe that if we can just shift and take the time every day to ground in our will, our willingness to live more fully into what we know. We live more in joy and curiosity and wonder because, wow, when we say yes to life, we don't know what's ahead. But when we're willing to live in integrity with our spiritual wisdom, we can trust and move forward, taking each step from discernment and knowing. So we can also navigate and be more peaceful, just more peaceful. So this week, I'm going to invite you to check in. How are you? In the midst of this pandemic time, how are you? And to just take some time in the stillness to look at the choices that you're making right now. Are you making choices in alignment with what you know is true? And I mean things like choices for your health and well-being. Are you making choices? So, exercise or eating well. We all know pretty much, how to take care of ourselves. How are we doing with that right now? How are we taking care of our emotional health, our mental health, our relationships? So are we making choices in alignment with what we know is true, or are we allowing the stress, the external stress and fear, be what guides our choices? And this is not a judgment, folks, really. This is just a check-in to be gentle, please, and go into prayer and meditation and ask yourself, what is the truth I know underneath any fear or resistance that I'm feeling right now? What is the truth I know? And how willing am I to call that forth into my life experience? To open, just like we did in meditation, just to breathe and to open and be ready and available to the infinite wisdom that you are to inform your choices. That's our will activated when we make choices and follow them in alignment with what we know is true. And just notice if you feel more clear, if you feel more peaceful, if you feel more joyful, more filled with curiosity and awe about what this time can mean for you in deepening your spiritual character. So let's take a deep breath. And let's affirm together. I call forth my spiritual attribute of will to persist and be steadfast in unfolding my heart's desires. I am open, curious, and wonder-filled. And so it is.
And now, this is our time to give from our unlimited abundance and open hearts. As you join us online, as you are there out in the world, thank you for going to our website or our newsletter to give your gifts online. You can also text to give. Here is some prosperity wisdom from the Daily Word. Prosperity is a state of mind, a willingness to focus on being happy, successful, and worthy. When I focus my thoughts on those qualities, I begin to see more abundance in my life. Today, I release all fear and see only goodness around me. With a grateful heart, I am open to divine supply and feel abundantly blessed. As we each give online, we affirm this offering blessing. Divine love I am, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am so grateful. Thank you.
Well, yes, yes to life, I'm saying yes, yes to life, I'm saying yes, yes to life, yes, 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 yes to life, oh, yes to life, I'm saying yes, oh, yes to life. The spirit of love within me is expressing itself right now. The spirit of joy within me is expressing itself right now. What you gonna do to create today? The universe is ready to play. The spirit will surely lead the way. Just say yes. Yeah. I'm saying yes. Oh, yes to life. Say yes. Yes. Yes to life. Oh, saying yes. Oh, yes to life. Love within me is expressing itself right now. The spirit of light within me is expressing itself right now. Whatsoever you conceive, if you can believe it, you can achieve. Universe will always agree if we just say yes. Oh, yes to life, saying yes. Yes to life, I'm saying yes. Oh, yes to life. Woo! Oh, yes to life, saying yes. Oh, yes to life, saying yes. Oh, yes to life, saying yes.
Oh, let's join together in singing our peace song.
Surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us, and wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen. Amen.
Have a beautiful, blessed week, calling forth your power of will. And I'll see you today at 4 o'clock on our Zoom community chat. Bless you.
Yeah, whoa. I'm saying yes, yes to life, saying yes. Oh, yes to life, saying yes. Oh, yes to life, yes, yes, yes. Yes to life, oh, yes to life. Oh, yes to life, I'm saying yes. Oh, yes to life. The spirit of love within me is expressing itself right now. The spirit of joy within me is expressing itself right now. What are we gonna create today? The universe is ready to play. Spirit will surely lead the way if you just say yes. I'm saying yes. Oh, that's right. I'm saying yes. Oh, that's the life. I'm saying yes. Oh, yes, the life. yes. Yes to life, oh, oh, yes. Oh, yes to life, is saying yes. Oh, yes to life, oh. The spirit of love within me is expressing itself right now. The spirit of light within me is expressing itself right now. Whatsoever you conceive, if you can't believe it, you can achieve. The universe will always agree if we just say yes. Well, I'll say yes. Oh, yes to life, I'm saying yes. Oh, yes to life, I'm gonna say yes. Oh, yes to life. Oh, yeah, yeah. Just to life. Oh, yeah, oh, yes. Oh, yes to life.